Okay, let's go ahead and take a quick look at how the debate played out in terms of proposition and opposition. First off, side proposition, Baibua kicks off the debate. Baibua, I think in this week's debate, your speech sounded more like a speech instead of a debate. Now, what does that mean? Yes, we talk about a speech in a debate, but there is a difference between a public speaking speech and a debate. Remember, a debate is designed to be argumentative, to be more of a sort of attacking mindset, and to really sort of highlight the points that you are trying to make. So Baibua, your speech brought some interesting information. You mainly focused on how children should enjoy a childhood while they can. They deserve a real childhood and not an experience based on an algorithm. It was a lovely speech. It was the kind of thing that people would listen to as a sort of public speaking speech. But as a debate, especially because you are side proposition, you needed to highlight the harms, okay? What are the actual harms here? And so, Baibua, you sort of do a speech that talks a lot about social media and why children should not be chasing popularity. It should be, their childhood should be about learning and growth and all of these lovely things. But really what I needed from you was an outright attack. Highlight the harms, okay? We know that social media is wildly addictive. We know that it is linked to really bad social health, or rather mental health issues. We know that children are very susceptible to this. There were a lot of hardcore harms that you could have highlighted strongly to kick this debate off. So then when Oryu comes up, he brings in some of the opposition side where he says, okay, in this world that we live in today, things have changed, okay? We are now in a world where there's no such thing as pen pals or, like writing to people. We're in the age of social media, okay? It's the hub of contact, and we need to move with the times here. So social media is a critical part of the world, and children might not know how to be safe online. They might have to grow up and live in a world where business is conducted through social media online. It's very impactful, okay? He also brings in this excellent example. See how older people who grew up before social media was a thing, they are the ones most likely to get scammed, most likely to fall for fake news or AI, and it's because they lacked this understanding. So if you now raise your child away from social media, you're exposing them to that same kind of danger. Immediately, Oryu is highlighting a real harm, a real danger, something that could be potentially a measurable impact. That's what proposition needs to do as well. So it's not good parenting to have your kids raised away from social media. It's actually quite bad for them. They are more likely to be digitally vulnerable, more likely to things like scams. Proposition 2. Okay, Patrick, I know that you did apologize that you couldn't do a really long speech, you didn't have a lot of time for prepping it, and also your laptop keeps exploding, your laptop keeps catching on fire. Something's wrong with your laptop. That I understand. I'm not going to be too strict on the fact that you had a short speech. You had some really great points. I wish that you had expanded on them. So all of the benefits of being sort of like social and making friends, these can all still be attained away from social media. Technology can be introduced in schools, so it can be a school subject. How to use tech safely, how to be safe online. And then you bring up the point that social media is designed to be addictive. You could have expanded on this, and I think that would have sealed the debate for you guys. It's designed to be addictive, so children become sort of dependent on this video entertainment that they constantly have access to. All right? It's an excellent point. I think it's the strongest point. You could have explored all of these issues more deeply. You do kind of mention the damages of that it does, or that it has on mental health, issues like peer pressure, but again, you very briefly mention it. So you don't really expand further on that, which is really what I would have liked to see. Opposition 2, trust. Trust, from your side today as well, it did feel more like a speech that you were just sort of presenting rather than an argument that you were engaging in, okay? You did speak for quite a long while. I think it's one of the longest speeches that came out of today's entire debate. And you did bring some really useful points. It's no longer a source of entertainment. Social media is a platform used for communication, for education, and for development. I would have liked to see a little bit of more expansion on those points to explain to me why this is important and how this works, but you did bring this up, so that is a good starting point. Guided exposure, okay? Protection without preparation is not effective. So essentially, opposition is saying we need guided exposure. We need to have our children learn about these things in a safe environment. So just throwing them out there at a later age when they've had no preparation, not going to work. It's likely to be more dangerous when we have them exposed to it at a later age and they haven't been guided through this. And then the importance of developing digital literacy, that is a strong point, okay? Social media is a huge part of developing digital literacy skills, learning how to navigate online situations, and that's something that I don't think that Proposition really attacked strongly enough or really engaged with. Proposition 3, tin. Okay, so the truth of this debate is not the harms of social media, but whether or not it's worth it. So are these harms, because both teams sort of agreed that there are potential harms, but is it worth it? All right, again, tin, you bring up companies benefiting from children's attention being sort of captured by these social media platforms. It profits on children's time and attention. And then finally, you can't change a system that is designed to harm children by sort of making them addicted to this platform. You can't change that by simply saying they should use it wisely. Excellent points. I would have loved it if your team brought these points in earlier. Okay, so at this point you're trying to sort of tie together as many loose ends as possible. Some of these points are really great, and some of them are things that I wish I'd seen earlier on in the debate. Especially as a closing speaker, I really like this idea that you can't change a system that's designed to be addictive, that's designed to be sort of not good. You can't change that simply by saying that children should learn to use it wisely. Preem, closing speaker for opposition. I think, Preem, this was one of your better closing. Can't remember many of your closing speeches. You're usually earlier on in the debate, but I think you did a good job as a closing today. So learn how to deal with scams and fake news, right? Excellent point. Delaying the problem is not solving the problem. And then you bring in this excellent idea of education is needed before using anything. Okay, so anything that children grow up with or grow into, they need to be educated on it first. So social media is no different. Through careful and supervised exposures, we can actually make this beneficial for children and not harmful. By measure of all of these things, I think that overall today's debate is awarded to side opposition. Opposition were able to highlight the fact that there are ways to navigate social media that make it so that it's safer to use. They also bring up some really interesting ideas about how harmful it can be if your child is not digitally literate, right? So actual harms of being scammed, not being able to differentiate between fake news and real news or AI. Proposition, you sort of mention, yes, there's mental health issues and yes, it's addictive, but you needed to back that up with examples. You needed to back that up with more argument. You sort of spoke about it up in the air a little bit Opposition brings examples. Opposition brings real-life situations. Proposition failed to do that in this debate. So overall, this debate is called in favor of opposition.